I haven't been camping since August 2019. My tent is still in my closet, still in the storage bag, exactly as I packed it that morning when we left Pine Lake. Sometimes I think about donating it. Sometimes I think about throwing it away. But I can't bring myself to open the bag. Because every time I think about unzipping something in the dark, I remember the man at Pine Lake. The man who never blinked. The man who moved his campsite closer. The man who just watched. Before we start, comment where you're watching from and answer this. Have you ever felt someone watching you while you slept? Drop your answer below, hit subscribe, and let's get into this story. It was supposed to be a simple weekend trip. Me and my college roommate Derek wanted to get out of Portland for a few days before fall semester started. We'd been planning it all summer, talking about getting away from the city, disconnecting from our phones, just enjoying nature for a couple days. Derek found this campground online in late July. Pine Lake, some remote place in Central Oregon, about 4 hours from Portland. The reviews were good. The photos looked beautiful. Clear water, tall pines, mountain views, exactly what we wanted. We packed up his truck on a Friday morning in mid-August. Tent, sleeping bags, cooler full of food and beer, firewood, the usual camping supplies. The drive was easy. Highway most of the way, then smaller roads winding up into the mountains. We got there around 3 in the afternoon. The campground was perfect, exactly what we'd hoped for. Quiet, isolated. There were maybe 10 campsites total spread around a small lake, and only 3 were occupied when we arrived. We checked in at the small office, near the entrance, Hagues. The woman working there was friendly, gave us a map, told us to pick any available site. We drove slowly around the loop road, looking at options, and finally picked spot number 7 on the north side of the lake. It had a clear view of the water and was far enough from the other campers that we'd have privacy. We spent the next hour setting up. Got the tent pitched, organized our gear, gathered some firewood from the area. The weather was perfect. Warm but not hot, maybe 75 degrees with a light breeze coming off the water. No bugs, which was rare for August. Everything felt right. Around 6 we started a fire and cooked dinner. Hot dogs and beans, nothing fancy. Derek had brought a bottle of whiskey and we passed it back and forth, talking about nothing important. Classes starting in 2 weeks, girls we knew from campus, his plans to study abroad next spring, my plans to find an internship, normal stuff. The kind of conversations you have when you're 22 and everything still feels possible. The sun started setting around 8. The sky turned orange and pink, reflecting on the lake surface. That's when I noticed one of the other occupied campsites. It was directly across the lake from us, maybe 200 yards away. There was a pickup truck parked there. Dark colored, blue or black, hard to tell in the fading light, but I didn't see a tent. Just the truck and a folding lawn chair set up near the water's edge. Someone was sitting in the chair. I pointed it out to Derek. That guy over there is just sitting. Derek glanced across the lake. Maybe he's fishing. I don't see a fishing pole. Derek squinted. Watching the sunset, I guess. I watched the figure for a moment. They weren't moving. Just sitting completely still in the chair, facing in our direction. It seemed a little odd, but I didn't think much about it. People camp differently. Maybe the person liked sleeping in their truck. Maybe they just enjoyed sitting by the water in silence. The distance was too far to make out any real details. Just a dark figure in a chair, motionless, facing our side of the lake. We stayed up until about 11. The whiskey was nearly gone, and we were both tired from the drive and the hiking we'd done around the campsite. We put out the fire, hung our food bag from a tree branch away from the tent, and climbed into our sleeping bags. The tent was cramped with both of us in it, but we'd camped together before and knew how to arrange ourselves. I fell asleep quickly, listening to the small sounds of the forest. crickets chirping, a distant owl hooting, the gentle lap of water against the rocky shore. I woke up suddenly around 2 in the morning. My bladder was full. I drunk too much whiskey and water before bed. I lay there for a minute hoping the feeling would pass, but it didn't. Finally, I unzipped my sleeping bag and carefully unzipped the tent entrance, trying not to wake Derek. And then he was snoring softly, dead to the world. Outside, the temperature had dropped significantly. It had to be in the low 50s. My breath made small clouds in the beam of my flashlight. I was only wearing boxers and a t-shirt, and I was freezing. I walked about 30 feet into the tree line to find a private spot, did my business, then turned to head back to the tent. That's when my flashlight beam swept across the lake. The person was still sitting there, same exact spot, same chair, same position as 7 hours ago when we'd first noticed them at sunset, facing our tent. The beam of my flashlight couldn't reach that far, but the moon was nearly full, and I could see the silhouette clearly, completely motionless, hadn't moved at all. I stood there in my boxers, freezing, feeling something cold settle in my stomach that had nothing to do with the temperature. Who sits in a chair all night? I tried to rationalize it. Maybe the person had just come back outside. Maybe they'd been sleeping in their truck and woke up at the same time as me and decided to sit by the water, but I knew that wasn't true. Something about the posture, the absolute stillness, the way the figure was angled directly toward our campsite told me they'd been sitting there the entire time, all night, just sitting, just watching. I went back to the tent and zipped it closed. My hands were shaking slightly, and I told myself it was just the cold. Derek was still snoring. I didn't wake him. What would I even say? There's a guy sitting by the lake? That's not illegal. That's not illegal. That's not threatening. I climbed back into my sleeping bag and lay there staring at the tent ceiling, listening to Derek breathe, thinking about the figure across the water. Eventually, exhaustion took over, and I fell back asleep. Morning came bright and warm. The sun was fully up when we finally crawled out of the tent around 8:30. Derek complained about a headache from the whiskey. I made instant coffee on our camp stove while he dug through the cooler looking for something to eat. I looked across the lake while the water boiled. The campsite was empty. The truck was gone. The chair was gone. No sign anyone had ever been there. "See?" Derek said, noticing where I was looking. He handed me a granola bar. "Your midnight stalker went home. Probably just some insomniac who likes sitting outside. Nothing weird about it." Keyword about it. I laughed, feeling stupid for being unsettled. It had probably been nothing, just someone who couldn't sleep. Just someone enjoying the quiet of the forest. We spent the day hiking around the lake, swimming in the cold water even though it was freezing, reading books we'd brought, napping in the sun. By evening, I'd completely forgotten about the person in the chair. It seemed silly in daylight. We got back to our campsite around 6, and around 6, started preparing dinner. Steaks this time. Derek was proud of the small portable grill he'd bought specifically for this trip. I was digging through the cooler looking for the meat when Derek said, "Hey." Something in his voice made me look up. He was standing very still, staring down the shoreline. "What?" I asked. He pointed without saying anything. The truck was back. But it wasn't across the lake anymore. Now it was on our side of the water, at a campsite maybe 50 feet away from ours. A site that had definitely been empty that morning. Same dark-colored truck. Same folding lawn chair, same person sitting in it. But now I could see them much more clearly. Middle-aged man, maybe 40, maybe 50, hard to tell. He was wearing a baseball cap pulled low over his face and a dark jacket despite the warm evening. His hands were folded in his lap, and he was sitting completely still, facing directly toward us. Not toward the lake. Not toward the sunset happening behind us, toward our campsite, toward our tent. "That's the same guy from last night," I said quietly. Derek was still staring. Why would he move closer? Maybe he liked this site better. Then why didn't he take it yesterday when it was empty? We stood there looking at him. He didn't move, didn't acknowledge that we'd noticed him, just sat there with his hands folded, face hidden under the brim of his hat, watching us. "This is weird," Derek said. "Yeah? Should we say something to him?" It's like, what? Derek thought about it. I don't know, maybe just wave, be friendly? I didn't want to be friendly. Something about the man made my skin crawl, but I also didn't want to seem paranoid or rude. I raised my hand and waved, a simple friendly gesture. "Hey neighbor," the man didn't wave back, didn't move at all. Didn't move at all, just kept sitting there, watching. "Okay, that's fucking creepy," Derek said. We made dinner, but neither of us had much appetite. The whole time I could feel eyes on us. I'd glance over every few minutes, and the man would still be sitting there in the exact same position, never adjusting. Never adjusting. Never standing to stretch, never moving at all, just watching. The sun set behind us and darkness came, and he was still sitting there. We could barely see him anymore, just a dark shape in a chair, but I knew he was still watching. "Let's just go to bed," Derek said around 9. "Ignore him. We're not going to let some weirdo ruin our last night." We put out our fire and crawled into the tent. It felt different now. The tent walls that had seemed cozy the night before now felt thin, exposed, like being wrapped in paper. I lay in my sleeping bag listening to every sound outside, the wind in the trees, small animals moving through brush, and underneath it all, a feeling that we were being observed. "This is stupid," Derek whispered in the darkness. "He's just a weird guy. People are weird. It doesn't mean anything." "I know," I said, but I didn't believe it. I don't know how long we lay there. Maybe an hour, maybe 2. I was drifting in and out of an uneasy half-sleep when Derek's hand clamped over my mouth. I jerked awake, heart hammering. He put his finger to his lips. "Listen." I heard it then. Footsteps in the gravel around our tent. Slow, deliberate, walking in a circle around us. The steps would pause for a few seconds, then continue. Someone was walking around our tent in the darkness, not trying to hide the sound. And then I heard something else. Breathing. Heavy breathing, like someone standing very close to the tent wall, just on the other side of the thin fabric from where we lay. The footsteps stopped, right at the tent door. Derek and I didn't move, didn't breathe. I could see his eyes in the darkness, wide and terrified. The tent was completely silent except for that breathing just outside. Then I heard the worst sound I've ever heard in my life. The zipper started to open. Someone was unzipping our tent, slowly, one tooth at a time. The sound was deafening in the silence, and the silence, and deafening in the silence. The zipper pulled down inch by inch. "Who's there?" Derek shouted. His voice cracked. "What do you want?" The zipper stopped immediately. For 3 seconds, absolute silence. Then footsteps running away fast, gravel spraying. We heard a truck door slam. Engine roaring to life. Headlights swept across our tent as the vehicle turned around. Then the sound of it driving away fast down the campground road, getting quieter and quieter until it was gone. We didn't sleep. We sat with our backs against opposite sides of the tent, flashlights on, knives from our cooking kit clutched in our hands. Every small sound made us jump. Every rustle of leaves, every creak of a tree branch, but nothing else happened. The hours crawled by, and eventually the sky started getting lighter. The second there was enough light to see, we got up and started packing. We didn't talk, just shoved everything into bags as fast as we could. We were loading the last bag into Derek's truck when we heard an engine. A golf cart came around the bend. The camp host, an older guy with a weathered face and a Forest Service uniform. "You boys leaving early?" he asked, looking at our half-packed campsite. Derek told him everything. The man watching us from across the lake, the truck moving closer, someone walking around our tent in the darkness, someone trying to open our tent. The camp host's expression changed as Derek talked. His face went pale. When Derek finished, the man was quiet for a long moment. What did he look like? He finally asked. We described him: baseball cap, dark jacket, middle-aged, sitting completely still. The host nodded slowly. That matches someone we banned from this campground about 3 years ago. Before I started working here, there were complaints. Guy would follow solo campers. Women mostly. Just watch them. Sit outside their tents at night. Camp staff caught him a few times, but he'd disappear into the woods before police arrived. Never did anything except watch. Never threatened anyone. Never touched anyone. Just watched. But that was enough to ban him. Did you ever catch him? I asked. No, he knows these woods better than anyone. Grew up somewhere around here, I think. People have tried to find him, but he just vanishes. We thought maybe he'd moved on. The host paused. You said he tried to open your tent. Yes, Derek said. That's new. He never did that before. Never tried to make contact. The way he said it made my skin crawl, like the man was changing, escalating. Like whatever he wanted, he was getting bolder about taking it. We left 5 minutes later. Didn't even finish packing properly. Just threw everything in the truck and drove. We didn't stop until we were an hour away at a gas station where Derek filled up the tank and we both used the bathroom. We still didn't talk much. Derek dropped me off at my apartment around noon. I carried my stuff inside and fell into bed without unpacking. I slept for 12 hours. When I woke up, I had 3 missed calls from Derek. I called him back. I found something weird, he said. He sounded shaken. What? I was cleaning out my truck bed just now. Found cigarette butts. A lot of them, all in one spot, like someone had been standing there smoking for hours. Neither of us said anything for a minute. We were both thinking the same thing. The truck driving away had been a trick. The sound of the engine, the headlights sweeping across our tent, all of it had been misdirection. He'd never left. He'd just moved his truck to make us think he'd left. Then he'd walked back through the woods in the darkness, sat outside our tent, smoking, watching the thin fabric, listening to us breathe, waiting for us to fall asleep again so he could finish opening that zipper. I reported it to the county police department the next day, gave them all the information we had. Description of the man, description of the truck, the dates, and location. They took my statement and said they'd look into it. I never heard anything back. Sometimes I check news sites for that area of Oregon. Sometimes there are stories about missing hikers, people who went into those mountains and didn't come back. Usually solo hikers, usually women. I always read those stories carefully, looking for details, looking for mentions of Pine Lake. But there's never enough information to know for sure. Last month, I got a Facebook friend request. I almost ignored it, but something made me look at the profile. No profile picture, just a gray silhouette. The name was Pine Lake, nothing else. No other information. No friends. No post. Just that name. I stared at it for a long time. Then I declined the request and blocked the account. But sometimes late at night, lying in my bed in my apartment in Portland, I wonder if he's still out there, still driving to that campground with his truck and his folding chair, still picking a spot near someone's tent, still sitting there in the darkness, not moving, not sleeping, just watching, just waiting for them to fall asleep so he can walk over in the darkness and reach for their zipper. And I wonder what would have happened if Derek hadn't woken up when he did. If that zipper had opened all the way, if we'd woken up to find him standing there in our tent in the darkness, just looking down at us with that face hidden under his baseball cap. I think about that a lot. I think about it every night before I fall asleep. And sometimes I get up and check my bedroom door to make sure it's locked. Check my windows to make sure they're closed. Because part of me knows that whatever he wanted from us, he didn't get it. And part of me knows that men like that don't just give up. They just wait. And watch. and find you again. My question, have you ever seen someone at a campground who was just watching? Share below. Subscribe for story 2. It gets darker. Hit like if this creeped you out. My family stopped camping together after the summer of 2017. We used to go every year, all of us, for our big family reunion trip. My parents won't talk about what happened. My aunts and uncles change the subject if anyone brings it up. And my little sister Maya, who's 16 now, still has nightmares. She wakes up screaming sometimes, and when my mom asks what's wrong, Maya just says Thomas wants me to come back. I was 22 that summer. Maya was only 8. It was supposed to be our annual family camping trip, the one we'd been doing since I was a kid. 15 of us total. My parents, my grandparents, 2 aunts and uncles, my cousins, Maya and me. We'd always gone to the same state park campground, but that year it was fully booked. My dad found a different place online, a private campground called Whispering Pines, about 3 hours north of Sacramento. The website made it look perfect. Lake access, playground, rec hall, hiking trails. And the best part was they had a group booking option where we could reserve the entire campground for a long weekend. Private family time, no other campers. It seemed ideal. We caravanned up on a Friday afternoon in late July, 5 vehicles packed with tents and coolers and camping gear. I rode with my parents and Maya. She was excited, bouncing in the backseat, asking how much longer every 20 minutes. I've been looking forward to this trip for weeks. The campground was beautiful when we arrived. Tall pine trees everywhere, a decent-sized lake, well-maintained gravel roads connecting maybe 20 campsites. The office was a small wooden building near the entrance. The owner met us there, a man in his 50s with a gray beard. He seemed friendly enough. Gave my dad a map, showed him which sites we'd reserved, told us to have a great weekend. He said he'd be around if we needed anything, but otherwise we'd have the whole place to ourselves. We spent the first few hours setting up. The adults got the tents pitched while us older kids started organizing the communal cooking area. My Uncle Jim set up his massive grill. My Aunt Sarah arranged folding tables and chairs. Maya ran around, exploring with my younger cousins, 6-year-old Emma and 9-year-old Josh. Timur, Udama, and 9-year-old Josh. Their excited voices echoed through the trees. Around 6, Maya came running back to our campsite. "There's a playground," she said, breathless. "Can I go play?" My mom looked at my dad. "Is it safe?" "It's a private campground," my dad said. "She'll be fine. Just stay where we can see you." The playground was visible from our cluster of campsites, maybe 50 yards away. Swing set, slide, a couple of those spring-mounted animal toys that rock back and forth. Maya ran off with Emma and Josh following. I could hear them laughing as they claimed their swings. I was helping my dad with the firewood when I heard Maya scream. Not a scared scream, an excited one. I looked over. She was on the swings, pumping her legs. Emma and Josh were on the slide. Everything looked normal. Dinner was hot dogs and hamburgers. Uncle Jim's specialty. Specialty. We all sat around the fire pit eating and talking. Maya came back from the playground around 8, her face flushed from running. "I made a friend," she announced. My mom smiled. "That's nice, sweetie. One of your cousins?" "No. A boy named Thomas." "No, a boy named Thomas. He lives here." My dad frowned. "Lives here, at the campground?" "Uh-huh. He said he's always here. He's 7. We played on the swings together." My parents exchanged a look. My Uncle Jim spoke up. "The owner said we have the whole campground to ourselves this weekend. There shouldn't be anyone else here." Maya shook her head insistently. "Thomas is here. He was on the swing next to me. He said he knows all the best places to explore." "Honey," my mom said gently, "maybe you were imagining." "I wasn't imagining. He's real." My dad squeezed her shoulder. Okay, maybe it was one of the owner's kids or something. Montra's kids or something. "Did you see where he went?" Maya pointed toward the woods past the playground. "He lives over there. He said there are more kids too. 8 of them total. They all live here. That night, after Maya was asleep in the tent, I heard my parents talking quietly outside. My mom sounded worried. Vide. She's never had an imaginary friend before. She's probably just playing, my dad said. Making up stories. You know how kids are. But I'd seen something that afternoon that I hadn't mentioned. When Maya was on the swings, I glanced over from where I was stacking firewood. She was pumping her legs, going higher and higher, and the swing next to her was moving too. Empty, but swinging in the exact same rhythm as Maya's, reaching the same height. I'd watched it for maybe 30 seconds. There was no wind. No one else was at the playground. Just Maya and that empty swing, moving together like synchronized swimmers. I'd told myself it was momentum from earlier. Maybe Josh had been on it and jumped off while it was still moving. But I knew that wasn't true. Josh had been on the slide the whole time. Saturday was beautiful. Warm and sunny. We spent the day swimming in the lake, playing cards, hiking some of the trails. Maya kept disappearing for stretches of time. We'd find her at the playground or near the tree line, talking to herself. When my mom asked who she was talking to, Maya would say Thomas, to infamous. My younger cousins started saying they could see him too. A boy with blonde hair wearing old-fashioned clothes. My Aunt Sarah laughed it off as the kids playing together, making up a shared game. But I noticed things, small things, that didn't feel right. Like how the playground equipment would be moving when we looked over, even though we hadn't seen any kids go near it. Or how Maya would point to empty spaces and insist Thomas was standing there. Once, she was sitting at a picnic table, arranging pine cones. She pushed some of them across the table, leaving a gap. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Making room for Thomas," she said, like it was obvious. "He wants to sit here." That evening, Maya came back to camp crying. My mom knelt down. "What's wrong, baby? Hey, what's wrong, baby?" "Thomas invited me to play hide and seek after dark," Maya sobbed. "He said the best hiding spots are in the woods. He said I have to come alone. He said not to tell grown-ups because they'll ruin it." My dad's expression darkened. "Maya, listen to me. You are not going into the woods after dark. Do you understand? Not alone. Not with anyone. You stay in camp where we can see you. But Thomas will be sad." "I don't care if Thomas is sad," my dad said firmly. "You're not going into the woods at night. End of discussion." Maya cried herself to sleep that night. I lay in my sleeping bag in the tent next to her, listening to her whimper. My mom tried to comfort her, rubbing her back, but Maya just kept saying Thomas is waiting. Thomas needs me. Thomas needs me. Around 11, after everyone had gone to bed, my Uncle Jim decided to walk over to the office to see if he could find the owner. He wanted to ask about the property boundaries, maybe confirm there weren't any local kids who hung around the campground. Thumbed. But when he got to the office, the building was dark, completely dark, no lights on inside, no car in the small parking area. He tried the door, locked. He called the number from the website. It rang, but no one answered. Jim came back looking confused. "It's like nobody's here. The owner just left." "Maybe he's staying somewhere else," my mom suggested. "Maybe he doesn't actually live on site." "Then who's managing the campground?" Jim asked. No one had an answer. I woke up around midnight to voices, quiet voices coming from right outside our tent. I unzipped the screen window and looked out. Maya's sleeping bag was empty. I shook my parents awake. Maya's gone. We found her at the edge of the woods, maybe 100 feet from our campsite. She was standing completely still, facing the dark trees, wearing just her pajamas and bare feet. My dad reached her first, grabbed her shoulders. "Maya, what are you doing out here?" She didn't look at him. She was staring into the woods, tears running down her face. "Thomas says I have to come with him," she whispered. "He sets time. He says all the children have to stay." My mom wrapped a blanket around her. "Sweetie, there's no one there. Thomas isn't real." "He is real," Maya screamed. He's standing right there. Can't you see him? He's standing right there. Can't you see him? We couldn't see anything, just dark trees and shadows. But Maya was pointing at empty space, her whole body shaking. My dad picked her up. She didn't fight, just went limp in his arms, still staring at the woods. As we walked back to camp, Maya said something so quietly, I almost didn't hear it. He gave me this. She opened her small fist. Inside was an old Polaroid photograph, faded and damaged. My dad held it under his flashlight. The photo showed the playground, but it wasn't empty. There were 8 children on it, different ages, maybe between 6 and 10. And all of them were staring directly at the camera with flat, expressionless faces. No smiles, no joy, just blank stares. The photo quality was old, the colors were wrong, and in the bottom right corner was a date stamp. July 1987. My mom's hand was shaking. Where did you get this? Where did you get this? Thomas gave it to me, Maya said. He said it's him and his friends. He said they've been waiting a long time for someone to play with. My Uncle Jim pulled out his phone. Barely any signal, but enough. He started searching. We all stood around him, watching the screen. After a few minutes, he found something. An old news article from the Sacramento Bee, July 1987. A church youth group had come camping at a private campground in this area. 8 children between the ages of 6 and 9 had disappeared one night. All of them vanished from their tents while their parents slept. Massive search effort, hundreds of volunteers, dogs, helicopters. They never found the children. Not a trace, no bodies, no evidence, nothing. The campground had been shut down for 15 years after that. Then reopened in 2002 under new ownership. Different name. The article didn't give the original name, but the location matched. Same area, same forest, same lake. We need to leave, my mom said. Right now, we're packing up and leaving. It's midnight, my dad said. We can't wake everyone and pack in the dark. I don't care. We're leaving. Something is very wrong here. But before we could start waking the other tents, my Aunt Sarah came running over from where she'd been sleeping with her kids. Emma won't wake up, she said, her voice shaking. Voice shaking. She's breathing, but I can't wake her up. We ran to her tent. Emma was lying in her sleeping bag, eyes closed, breathing slow and steady, but she wouldn't respond to anything. My uncle shook her, called her name, even splashed water on her face. Nothing. Then we checked Josh. Same thing. Then, breathing but completely unconscious, unresponsive, Maya started having the same symptoms. Her eyes rolled back. She slumped in my dad's arms. Call 911. My mom screamed. My uncle tried. No signal now. None of our phones had any bars. We ran to the cars. My dad tried to start his truck. The engine turned over but wouldn't catch. He tried again. Nothing. My Uncle Jim tried his SUV. Same thing. My grandfather's car. Nothing. All 5 vehicles. None of them would start. We were trapped. The children, all 3 of them, were lying on blankets near the fire, breathing but unconscious. Their lips were moving. All of them moving their lips in unison, whispering something we couldn't quite hear. My mom leaned close to Maya's face. What's she saying? My mom's face went white. Stay and play. 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 My grandfather, who'd been standing near the edge of camp, called out, "Look at the playground." We all turned. The playground was maybe 50 yards away, barely visible in the darkness. But we could see it. All 8 swings were moving. Not randomly, in perfect unison. Same height, same rhythm. Like 8 invisible children were pumping their legs together. And in the darkness beyond the swings, shapes. Small shapes, 8 of them, children standing in a line, watching our campsite. No one moved. We stood there frozen, watching those shapes watch us. My dad grabbed a flashlight and started walking toward the playground. My mom tried to stop him, but he pulled away. We watched him cross the distance, his flashlight beam bouncing. When he got close to the shapes, he stopped, stood there for a long moment. Then he came back walking fast, his face completely pale. "Get the kids," he said. "Get them right now. We're carrying them out. We're carrying them out. We're walking to the highway if we have to." "What did you see?" my mom asked. "Nothing," my dad said. "That's the problem. There was nothing there. But I heard them. 8 voices, children's voices, singing. We grabbed the unconscious children. My dad carried Maya. My uncle carried Emma. My uncle carried Emma. My grandfather carried Josh. We left everything, tents, gear, food, everything. Started walking down the campground road toward the entrance. It was 3 in the morning, completely dark except for our flashlights. The walk took 45 minutes. None of us talked. None of us talked. The unconscious children kept whispering the same phrase over and over. Stay and play, stay and play. When we finally reached the highway, the sky was starting to lighten, dawn coming, and as the first rays of sun hit us, the children woke up, all 3 of them, simultaneously. Their eyes opened and they looked around confused. "Where are we?" Emma asked. None of them remembered anything. Not Thomas, not the playground, not the woods, nothing after Friday afternoon. We called 911 from the highway. Police came. Paramedics checked the kids. They were fine. Completely healthy. From Mom. The officers drove back to the campground with some of us to get our vehicles. In daylight, the cars started fine. No problems. We packed up our stuff as fast as we could and left. The police investigated, searched the property, found nothing unusual. They tried to contact the owner using the number from the website. Disconnected. The property records showed the land was owned by a company that didn't exist anymore. The owner we'd met had apparently never worked there. No one could find any trace of him. My family never spoke about it again. We never went camping together after that. Maya went to therapy for 2 years. The nightmares got less frequent but never stopped completely. She's 16 now and still won't go near playgrounds. Won't even look at them. Last week, I got a phone call from Maya. She was crying. She was crying. "I got something in the mail," she said. "What? A letter?" There was a Polaroid inside. My stomach dropped. What was in the photo? The playground. But this time, there are 9 children in it. The newest one looks exactly like me, and on the back, someone wrote in Crakey Child's handwriting, "Come back and play. Thomas misses you." I drove to my parents' house immediately. Maya showed me the photo. She was right. 9 children now. She was right. 9 children. The 8th looked just like her. Same pajamas she'd been wearing that night. All 9 children staring at the camera with those flat, empty expressions. The postmark on the envelope said it was sent from a town near the campground. No return address. My dad called the police. They said they'd look into it, but I could tell they thought it was a prank. How could they understand? How could anyone who wasn't there understand what we'd seen? Last night, Maya called me again at 3 in the morning. "He's outside," she whispered. "Thomas is standing in our front yard. I can see him from my window. He's just standing there, watching the house. Call the police," I said. I did. They came, but they didn't see anyone. They walked around the house with flashlights and said nobody's there, but I can still see him. He's still standing there, and he's smiling now. "I'm coming over." "No," Maya said. "He's walking away, into the trees across the street. He's leaving." "Maya," he turned around before he left. He waved at me, and I heard his voice in my head, clear as anything. He said, "We'll wait. We have all the time in the world. All the children come back eventually." The line went dead. I tried calling back, but got no answer. I drove to my parents' house anyway. When I got there, all the lights were on, police cars in the driveway, my parents on the front lawn. Maya was gone. Not in her room, not in the house. They found her bedroom window open, muddy footprints on the windowsill, small footprints, like a child's, leading into the woods across the street. They're still searching. It's been 6 days. No sign of Maya. No trace. The footprints disappeared 20 feet into the woods. The police have dogs, helicopters, hundreds of volunteers. But I know they won't find her, because I know where she is. She's at Whispering Pines. At the playground. Playing with Thomas and his friends, all 8 of them, or maybe 9 now. I drove past the campground yesterday, parked on the highway and walked in. The place is completely overgrown. Doesn't look like anyone's been there in years. The office is collapsed. The campsites are barely visible. But the playground is still there. The equipment is rusted but standing. And as I got closer, I saw something that made me run back to my car. The swings were moving, all 9 of them, in perfect rhythm, in perfect unison, and carved into the wooden support beam of the swing set in fresh letters that hadn't been there in 2017 were 9 names. The last one said, "Maya, have you heard of children disappearing from campgrounds in the 1980s? Comment if you know anything. My sister is still missing." Subscribe for the final story, like if you're still watching. I haven't slept in a tent since what happened in Vermont. It's been 6 years now. My camping gear is in my parents' garage, still packed in boxes. Sometimes I think about selling it. Sometimes I think about burning it. But mostly I just try not to think about it at all. Because every time I do, I remember the tent we found in those woods. The tent that moved closer each day. The tent that was never on any map. And I remember my best friend Mike, who still won't answer my calls. Who won't talk about what he saw inside that tent on our last morning there? It was October 2018, a bachelor party camping trip for our friend Tyler. Nothing fancy, just 5 of us from college who wanted to do something different before Tyler got married. No strip clubs, no Vegas. No Vegas. Just a weekend in the mountains, some beers, some campfires, some time away from responsibilities. Tyler, Mike, Josh, Aaron, and me. We'd been friends since freshman year. We'd camped together before. It should have been simple. Mike found the spot. Remote backcountry in Vermont, near the Canadian border. The kind of place where you don't see other people for days. We drove up on a Friday afternoon in mid-October. Peak fall colors. The mountains were incredible, covered in reds and oranges and yellows. We parked at a trailhead and hiked in about 8 miles to a clearing Mike had marked on his map. It took us most of the afternoon, but we got there with enough daylight to set up camp. The clearing was perfect for Savoy. Flat ground, ring of trees for wind protection, small stream about 100 feet away for water. We pitched our tents, 3 of them total. Tyler and Josh shared one. Aaron had his own. Mike and I shared the third. By the time we had everything set up, the sun was setting. We gathered firewood, cooked hot dogs, passed around a bottle of bourbon Tyler had brought. Normal camping stuff, normal conversations. Mike told embarrassing stories about Tyler from college. Aaron talked about his new job. So I mostly listened and stared at the fire, feeling relaxed for the first time in months. Around 10, Josh pointed out something near the edge of our clearing. "Hey, there's a trail marker there. That wasn't on the map." We walked over with flashlights. Kivan, Hipol. It was a small wooden post, maybe 3 feet tall, with a carved arrow pointing deeper into the forest. The carving looked old, weathered. The post was covered in moss. "Weird," Mike said. "This definitely wasn't on any trail map. Maybe it's an old logging road," Tyler suggested. Logging road, Tyler suggested. "This area used to be logged back in the day." Aaron ran his hand over the carved arrow. "This looks hand-carved, not official trail markers. Secret fishing spot," Josh said. "We should check it out tomorrow." We went to bed around midnight. I fell asleep listening to the sound of the stream and the wind in the trees. No strange feelings, no sense of anything wrong, just a good night of camping with old friends. Saturday morning we made coffee and ate breakfast, then decided to follow the unmarked trail out of curiosity. Phone and Corey. Maybe it led to a viewpoint or a hidden pond. We followed the carved arrow into the woods, walking single file through the trees. The trail wasn't maintained, but it was visible, like people had walked it enough to wear down the vegetation. After about 2 miles, we came to another clearing. we came to another clearing. This one was smaller than ours, and in the center of it, standing alone, was a tent, an old canvas tent, military style, maybe 8 by 10 feet. Dark green, stained and weathered but intact. The flap was closed. There was no camping gear outside, no fire pit, no food storage, no water containers, letter containers. Just the tent, standing there in the middle of nowhere. "Hello," Tyler called out. "Anyone here?" No answer. We stood at the edge of the clearing, looking at the tent. Something about it felt wrong. The isolation of it, the completeness of it. The completeness of it. Like it had been placed there deliberately, not camped there. "Maybe it's a hunting camp," Aaron said, uncamping. "People leave gear out here sometimes. Without any other equipment," Josh said. "No chairs, no coolers, nothing." Mike started walking toward it. "Let's just check it out." "No," I said. The word came out harder than I'd intended. Everyone looked at me. "I don't think we should go near it. I don't think we should go near it." "Why not?" Mike asked. I didn't have a good answer. Just a feeling, just something in my gut saying we should turn around and go back to our own camp. But I also didn't want to seem paranoid or weird, so I said, "Fine. But let's just look from outside. Don't open it." We walked closer. "Don't open it." We walked closer. The tent was old but well maintained. No rips, no holes. The canvas was taut and properly staked. Mike circled around it slowly, looking for clues about who it belonged to. "Hello?" he called again. "Anyone in there?" No answer. But as we stood there in the quiet, Aaron suddenly grabbed my arm. They grabbed my arm. "Did you guys see that?" he whispered. "See what?" The tent, the flap, moved. Like someone inside shifted position. We all stared at the closed tent flap. It was completely still now. Nobody said anything for maybe 30 seconds. "I didn't see anything move," Tyler finally said. "I did," Aaron insisted. "Something inside adjusted. I saw the canvas move." "There's no one here," Mike said. "If someone was inside, they would have answered when we called. But I'd seen it too. Just a slight movement, a settling, like weight shifting on the other side of the canvas." I didn't say anything. "Let's go," Josh said. "This is creeping me out." We hiked back to our camp, spent the rest of the day swimming in the stream, even though the water was freezing, reading books, playing cards. By evening, the tent in the woods felt like a weird footnote. Something to laugh about later. We made dinner, drank more bourbon, told more stories. Tyler was getting married in 3 weeks, and we gave him a hard time about losing his freedom. Normal bachelor party stuff. We went to bed around 11. I fell asleep easily. But then I woke up suddenly around 3 in the morning. Mike was shaking my shoulder. "Something's wrong," he whispered. "What?" He pointed outside our tent. "Look." I looked through the mesh window. In the moonlight, I could see our campsite clearly. Tyler and Josh's tent. Aaron's tent. Curran's tent. The cold fire pit. And something else. A 4th tent. The canvas tent from the woods. It was in our camp now. Maybe 30 feet from ours. Same tent. Same dark green canvas. Same closed flap. Just standing there. Like it had always been there. "What the fuck?" I breathed. "And there. What the fuck?" I breathed. We scrambled out of our sleeping bags and unzipped our tent. Tyler and Josh were already outside their tent, staring. Aaron emerged a moment later, his face pale. "How did that get here?" Josh said. "We would have heard someone setting up a tent." A saint. "Nobody could move a tent that size without making noise," Tyler said. "The stakes, the poles, it's not possible." We stood there in our pajamas, staring at the tent. The temperature had dropped. I could see my breath. Nobody wanted to say what we were all thinking. That something impossible had just happened, that a tent from 2 miles away was now in our campsite, and we hadn't heard a single sound. "Someone's fucking with us," Aaron said, but his voice shook. He didn't believe it. "We should look inside," Tyler said. Tyler said, "No." Mike said immediately, "Hivo. We don't touch it, we don't go near it. We pack up our shit and we leave, right now." "It's 3 in the morning, Josh said. "We're not hiking 8 miles in the dark." "Then we wait until dawn," Mike said. "But we're leaving." We went back to our tents, but nobody slept. We lay there listening. Listening for footsteps. for voices, for any sound that would explain what had happened, but the forest was completely silent. Even the stream seemed quieter, like everything was holding its breath. Dawn came slowly. As soon as there was enough light to see, we started packing. We didn't talk. We didn't talk. Just moved as quickly and quietly as possible, shoving gear into bags, taking down our tents. The whole time, the canvas tent just stood there, silent, closed, watching us. We were almost done packing when Aaron said, "Guys, the trail, the trail." We turned, the trail we'd hiked in on. The clear, well-worn trail that had brought us to this clearing. It was gone. Where it had been was just undisturbed forest, trees and undergrowth and fallen leaves, like no trail had ever existed. Mike pulled out his map and compass, studied them for a long minute. Then he looked up, his face gray and fray. "The map doesn't match anymore. None of these landmarks are right. We're not where we should be." "What the hell does that mean?" Tyler demanded. "It means we're lost," Mike said. "The clearing moved, or we moved, or something moved. But we're not in the same place anymore." Josh walked to the edge of the clearing, looking for any sign of a trail. That's when he found it. A tree with something carved into the bark, fresh carving. The wood underneath was still white, 5 tally marks. We'd been counted, marked like inventory, like inventory. "Oh God," Aaron said. "Oh God, oh God, oh God." Then Tyler pointed into the trees. "The tent, it's over there now." The canvas tent was visible through the forest, maybe 100 yards away, different direction from where we'd originally found it. The flap was open now, just open. Black darkness inside, black darkness inside. And from that darkness, a sound, a rustling, movement. "We run," Mike said. "Pick a direction and we fucking run." "Which direction?" I asked. Mike pointed. "Away from the tent, that way. Stay together, don't stop." We grabbed what we could carry and ran. Ran through the forest, jumping over logs, pushing through branches. I don't know how long we ran. An hour maybe, maybe more. The sun was up fully by the time we stopped, all of us gasping for air. "Do you hear that?" Josh said between breaths. We listened. In the distance, a sound. Machinery. "Vehicles. Road," Mike said. "That's a road." We ran toward the sound. 15 minutes later, we burst out of the tree line onto a paved highway. A highway that definitely wasn't on our map. But it didn't matter. It was civilization. We were out. A truck stopped for us. For us. The driver looked at us like we were insane. 5 guys covered in dirt and sweat, carrying half-packed camping gear. He drove us to a small town 20 miles away. We called for a ride to get back to where we'd parked our car. The police searched for our campsite. For that clearing. For the canvas tent. 3 weeks of searching. They never found anything. The area we described didn't match any terrain in that region. The landmarks we remembered didn't exist. It was like we'd camped in a place that wasn't real. Mike had some kind of breakdown after we got back. Stopped answering his phone, quit his job, moved to a different state. I tried calling him for months. Finally, his mom told me to stop. That Mike couldn't talk about Vermont. That something about that last morning had broken something in him. I asked her what he'd seen. And I asked her what he'd seen. What had happened that I didn't know about. "He won't tell me," she said. "But he has nightmares every night. And in his sleep, he says the same thing over and over. They were all in there. Everyone who came before us. And there's room for 5 more. I never got to ask him what he meant." Who was in the tent? What he'd seen when we weren't looking. 3 months ago, I got a package at my apartment. No return address. Inside was a Polaroid photograph. It showed the 5 of us sleeping in our tents that night. Taken from inside our campsite. Taken by someone standing right there with us. On the back, written in handwriting I didn't recognize, were 5 words. "Come back. Still room inside." I moved to a different state after that. Changed my phone number. Didn't tell anyone where I was going, except my parents. Last week I found something on my apartment doorstep. A canvas tent stake. Old. Weathered. The same dark green as that tent. I don't know how they found me. I don't know what they want, but I know they're still out there, still waiting in those woods that aren't on any map, still setting up that tent that moves when you're not looking, still marking people with tally marks on trees. Trees. Still making room inside. I think about calling Mike, asking him what we should do, but I already know he wouldn't answer, because whatever he saw in that tent that morning, whatever understanding he came to about what was happening to us, it was bad enough that he can't even speak about it. And part of me doesn't want to know. Part of me is terrified that if he told me, I'd have to go back there. I'd have to go back to those woods and that clearing and that tent to understand what's waiting inside. Sometimes at night, I hear canvas flapping in the wind. But there's no wind. And I don't own anything made of canvas anymore. They're getting closer. I can feel it. The distance between here and there is getting smaller, and someday soon, I'm going to wake up and look outside my window and see it. That dark green tent, that closed flap, and it's going to be closer. And it's going to be closer. It's always closer. Have any of these 3 stories happened to you? Feeling watched, imaginary friends, or places that change? Comment everything below. Subscribe for more horror stories. Hit like and share this with someone who camps. Stay safe out there.